It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Today we're going to have a really fun show because we are talking about manifesting your perfect life. Now, when you think about your perfect life, maybe you think of the perfect house, the perfect car, the perfect mate, the perfect pet, the perfect life. Whatever it is for you, you may be wondering exactly how to get that. Maybe you've seen The Secret and you've read all the books and somehow you're just missing something. Today we might just touch upon that one thing that you're missing. Over the next several months, we're going to be doing different shows on manifestation and little key points about how to manifest exactly what you want. Today, we're focusing on using your intuition to manifest exactly what you want. Truly, your intuition is the key. And very few people are aware of this, and that's why very few people really create exactly what they want. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest today, April Perry Kreitzer. And she knows a lot about manifesting through intuition, don't you, April?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Yes, my pleasure. It's fun.
It is fun.
So you actually had something just recently happen to direct you to a particular path. But before we get to that, which was an inspiration for today's show, actually. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about what it means to use your intuition for manifestation. And so for me, what it means is that when I think about something I want, what I do is I open the channels, and my intuition will tell me where to go, what to do, how to do it. And a lot of times it's counterintuitive. A lot of times it doesn't make sense, or it tells me to do something that I wouldn't normally do. But what's really happening, if I could define it in a logical, tangible way, is it'll say, I'll share a story. Here's a story. Okay, so many, many years ago, before we moved out to Utah, we needed a dining room table. A dining room set, and we is, myself and my husband and the kids. But we really didn't have a lot of money, and my ex-husband, well, he's an ex now, he wasn't at the time, he wanted to bring his mother's dining room table. Now, she had generously offered it to us, but I have to tell you, I hated that dining room table. It was just big and old, and the cats used it as a toilet, so it wasn't like a fun thing to have around. Well, we ended up having a little fight over it because he insisted that we take the dining room table to Utah. And then, when we got some money, then we would get a new one. But I know how those things go. You agree to one thing, and the next thing you know, it's 10 years later, and there I am still living with the same dining room table. So I did not want that. So I remember leaving my mother-in-law's house, and I was driving in the car by myself, and I was really just angry because I didn't want that dining room table, and I just kept thinking about how much I didn't want it, and a little voice said to me, okay, then what do you want? Because as we know, it's so much more powerful to focus on what you do want than what you don't want. And so I started thinking about what I wanted. And what I saw was this beautiful black lacquer dining room set with these high back chairs and modern and just the perfect size, and I saw it so specifically in my mind, and I imagined it in my new dining room and sitting around it and everybody being happy, and I'm just, in this amazing, amazing place. Well, all of a sudden I see this sign, and it was a sign for a garage sale, and it's my intuition said, go there, just turn, go there. I wasn't looking for a garage sale, something just said turn and go there. Well, I made the left, and I never did find the garage sale. I think it was an old sign or something. It did not exist. But I ended up getting lost in this little neighborhood. And the next thing I knew, I pulled up to this house. They had a black lacquer dining room set sitting on the lawn. Wow. Yeah. And this man, he was just pushing the last chair in. Oh my God. As he was putting the for sale sign on top of it. For a minute, I couldn't believe my eyes. I really thought I was hallucinating. Okay, I've gone too far now. I get out of the car, and I go over to him, and I said, you're selling the dining room set? And he said, yeah. I said, how much? He said, oh, $100. And this was a brand new set, I should say. It was never used. And I said, oh, okay, $100. I just happen to have $100 in my pocketbook. I never usually carried that much money then, but I did. So I gave him the $100, and we start, loading it in my car. And I said, by the way, just out of curiosity, how come you put it out on your lawn today? How come you were selling it today? And he stops and he looks at me and he says, well, that's the darndest thing, because this dining room set has been in my garage for an entire year. The reason that we put it there is because we redecorated. We had kids, we redecorated and, went with more of a country look. And we just put the dining room set in the garage, never having really used it, and it sat there for over a year. And all of a sudden, just a few minutes before you pulled up, my wife came out and said to me, honey, let's just put that dining room set out on the front lawn, see if somebody wants to buy it. And then a few minutes later, I pulled up and bought it. So I love this story because of how fast it happened. Now, things don't always happen that fast, and they do and they don't, and we'll kind of get to that. But this was immediate. I had the thought, and I'm quite sure that the way the timing worked out, that as soon as I started visualizing it, this woman got the message, oh, let's put the dining room set out. Now, she just thought that it was, an idea, told her husband, he puts it out. I have intuition to make a left turn to go to this garage sale, which didn't even exist, and I end up lost, and I end up in front of their house. I call this the cosmic telephone line. And the way that works is it's like picking up a telephone and somebody on the other end answers. But it's done on more an unconscious or intuitive level. Most of the time. Sometimes it's very conscious. For me, I got really, really clear about what I wanted. I focused on the dining room set, even how it looked, how I felt using it, all of that. And that message went up into cosmos, the ethers, whatever you want to call it, through the energy fields, and went to exactly the person who could respond to that. And the way that came through her was just like, oh, we should just put that out on the front lawn. And without delay, told her husband. He must have felt something too. Sometimes husbands don't do things that quick. And he did. He put it out on the front lawn, and lo and behold, I pulled up just minutes after he put it out there. He's pushing in that last chair as I pulled up. So that's how it works. And that's the beauty of it. And I think a lot of times that people don't get what they want because they don't listen to their intuition. Now, I could have just as easily said, oh, I don't feel like going to a garage sale, or, maybe that is an old sign, or, oh, I've got to get home, or whatever. But my intuition told me to make that left turn. I believe that this happens all the time to people, that they put something out, I want this, and they're directed to go a certain way, but the logical mind says, oh, I don't want to do that, that's silly, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, lots of excuses, and then they never really listen to their intuition and miss huge gifts. Huge gifts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And part of what I've been thinking about today, and I'm so happy that we're doing this show, is I was looking at my life and why at certain times I've listened to my intuition and sometimes I haven't. And I've come to see that I've always known the answers. I've known everything in my life. I've known exactly what I was going to do. And I realize what stops me is my resistance or the self-chatter that I do. Well, I can't do this because of that, or this and that. And then I fight against it. But honestly, I always keep going back to it anyways. Whether it's years later or being led in a different direction, I'm being led back because that's what I know I want to do.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening is now people are listening more to their intuition because it's just leading them to what they really want to do with their lives. And especially now, I think that's why things are moving so quickly.
Yeah. That's a great point, because I see that too. I see people listening to their intuition more than ever. Still not enough, but more than ever. And I think you're right. And partly that might be that after you do something over and over again and you realize it doesn't work, your mind starts saying, okay, all right, I need to do something different now. And we start allowing for different possibilities. And I also think it's happening because the energies, the frequencies on this planet are altering, and they're being raised to such a high frequency and continue to do so, that it's almost like you can't help but notice that something's going on inside you. You may not know what that is, but something, and maybe the voice is getting louder, or the feelings are getting louder, or the messages are coming stronger. But you're absolutely right. It's getting more and more powerful. every day I sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me think of a couple years ago. I was in Maine with my dad, and I was sitting in the back seat, and I was sleeping, so tired, and I remember just being jolted awake, and just this feeling of I have to move now. But it was just this strong thing that I could not ignore. There was absolutely no way I could ignore it, and I just felt like someone just pushing me out of my seatbelt, pushing me into the next seat, and right before I even knew it, the car just started spinning. We got whammed before I could even know what had happened. And we must have spun like 4 or 5 times. And when the ambulance came, because I had hurt my neck, not too bad, and they just kept saying to me, thank God you weren't sitting on that side. And I was crying so much that I couldn't believe that I was sitting on that side, and the whole door just literally just flew off. I mean, there's just no way I would even been here. And I just look at that, how easy that was to listen to, but how strong it was. Yeah. If anything less, I probably would have just ignored it. Yeah. But that just kind of shows me how even just the little intuition could be just as important as
you don't know why.
The bigger, why we're being led that way.
So you're sitting on the. Most people, when they get in a car, if they don't sit in the middle seat, okay? They usually sit, by the door. So there you are, you're sitting by the door, and you're sleeping. Something jolts you awake, and what, do you hear a voice, or is it a feeling, or what is it that tells you to quickly move to the middle seat?
It was, if I could describe it, it was like someone yelling at me in my head, as loud as you could yell, and then shoving me. It was like I wasn't even doing it. It was like something.
Some energy.
Some energy was just shoving me over.
Wow.
And it was like there was no choice to ignore it. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't possible.
Yeah. I've had things like that happen to me too. When I was pregnant with Dustin, which is 28 years ago, I was ready to cross the street, and I was pretty pregnant at that time. And this was a residential-like area, it wasn't like a major street or anything, and I'm about ready to cross the street, and I have the light, and all of a sudden it was like something just pushed me down the block, like there was like no choice, so I started going down the block, and within seconds a car spun out in the crosswalk where I would have been. No doubt this car would have hit me. No doubt. And it's interesting because that is definitely one way intuition works. So intuition can, talk to you. It can almost physically move your energy. Now, having said that, how many times does that happen to someone and they resist it? Because we still have free will. Mm-hmm. So it's like the energy can be there to direct us away. We can feel it, we can hear it, we can see something, but we still have the choice whether to listen to it or not.
Yeah.
The funny thing about intuition, because I've taught many intuition classes over the years that do workshops on intuition development. You're actually connected, and your intuition is on 24 hours a day. It never goes off. Why it seems like it's on and off is because sometimes we listen to it, and most of the time we don't. But truly, there's not 1 second of your life that some greater or higher power, whatever you want to call that, is speaking to you and through you, if you allow it to. Now, why do you think it's so hard for people to listen to their intuition?
Well, I was looking at it personally in my life because I've been really looking at that. That's, sometimes I listen to it, sometimes I don't. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people think they're crazy. Yeah. Or if it doesn't make sense, right. Or if they can't find a reason behind it, right. They try to make, well, if I can find an explanation behind it, then I can follow it. But otherwise, it's hard for people to just go with it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest reason. Yeah. So the rational mind gets in the way. And that's how we're brought up. Is it not? I mean, we're brought up, you use your mind, you think for yourself, and, mind, think. And really, the interesting thing about that is that is not the purpose of the mind. The mind is like a tool of your higher self, but we think that it's the central focal point, so we have to process everything through our mind. It really all it is. It's like
your arm or your hand. And I don't see people going around like looking at their hand saying, hand, what should I do, hand? What's next? And it's the same thing. It just seems that the brain is more conscious and it makes logical sense. But when we only listen to our brains or our minds first, what we're really doing is cutting off our greatest power, our higher source, our inner wisdom, and the tool that will lead us to exactly what we want.
Yeah.
And the mind is a powerful thing, but we need to learn how to use it for what it is and make it, the slave instead of the master.
Mm. I think that's very true. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I was thinking about it, all the times that I've been really clear on exactly what I want, and if I just leave to open, any door that it chooses to emerge, that's when I notice things come quicker. When I'm not, it has to be this way, and it's got to come that way. Right. I've noticed things just move really smooth, and I think it's just getting clear on exactly what we want.
Right. Well, I think the other thing that happens, getting clear, and I think a lot of things that happens is that when we are so specific with how it has to come, I don't think that we limit it to that how. I think that there's other hows that show up, but because we're looking at one particular how, then we miss the other hows. We're just it's like we believe something has to come through, door A. And we keep looking at door A, but really what we're asking for is coming through, door X. But we're not noticing door X opening because we're looking at that first door, and we miss it.
Yeah.
Because it can come anyway. The universe is so magical. It's so magical. Anything and everything can happen at any moment. And I think the reason that it doesn't happen like that, at least at this point in our existence, is because of all the conditions we put on it. So it's like we have these conditions that we call life that we think are necessary for this world. And those conditions look like cause and effect, this and then that. Something has to happen for something else to happen. And as long as we have those conditions, it doesn't allow for these miracles or magic to happen in our life. So it's like, let's say, you need a new car. And you're thinking, the conditions getting a new car, I have to have enough money, and I have to, go to the car dealer, and I have to pick it out, and I have to drive it home, and those are all conditions. And we're not even talking about the conditions of I have to feel deserving. That's a whole other thing. But just those conditions that it has to happen in a certain order. And because we have those conditions, it blocks the way for it to happen magically. And truly, if we could surrender conditions, or at least some conditions, it allows for that manifestation to happen even quicker and sooner and miraculously. What I've noticed is, so we've all had those situations where we've been in a crisis and we just prayed for a miracle, and suddenly this miracle happens. And we say, it's a miracle. But what's really happening is when we are in a drastic situation, we're in a crisis situation, and we just want something so bad to happen, whether it's, saving a loved one's life, or, a help in a drastic or dire situation or whatever. What happens then is we surrender the conditions. At that point, when it really has to happen, we don't care how it happens. We give up all the conditions that it has to look like this, this, and this, and this. And as soon as we give up those conditions, it allows room for the universe to bring to us what we want in miraculous ways, and we call that a miracle. So all miracles are are a release of conditions. And we can live in a state of miracle more and more and more the more conditions we release. And it's not easy because we are so ingrained with it has to look like this, it has to look that. I have to work 40 hours a week to meet my bills and make my money. And these are conditions. And even that I need money for such and such and this and that. It's conditions. And truly the universe doesn't work like that. And this is a particularly relevant conversation because as we've been talking about, week after week, the energies on this planet are changing and the vibration is increasing, and it's getting less and less dense here. And what that means is that the universe is telling us we don't need all these conditions. that we can have what we want and have it quicker and sooner and in a more amazing way than we ever dreamed possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, because from what I've been hearing from lots and lots of people that have had dreams of certain things that they have always wanted to do in their life, but they always felt, no, I have to work, and I have children, and I have to pay car payments, and I have to be house payment. I can't be out painting or doing these other things. I have to do something reasonable.
Right.
And I'm noticing that that's starting to break down too.
Yes.
That they're starting to want to actually go with their heart.
Right.
And that's what's been really amazing for me, what I've been opening up to, is because I've kind of been knowing that, but I haven't really known that about following your dream and following your intuition, because I've heard that for many, many years, that, oh, you always know the answer, but I never really got that. But we really do know what we want.
We really do.
And we're led there every day, I feel.
Every day.
And we just try to resist it by putting that conditions on. And I think you're right. I think once you drop those conditions, that's when you really find who you are and what you want to do with your life.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And anything and everything's possible.
Why do you think it's so hard to drop the conditions, though?
I think it's hard to drop the conditions because it just brings a lot of self-talk, our ego. I think it's just, oh, well, I'm not going to be good enough, or people are going to think of me. I think it's just a lot of the mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's just releasing that part of the mind.
Yeah.
That it doesn't have to look that certain way.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think just letting that go, and I can see how it's been difficult. I mean, even for me, it's been difficult. But I also know the more that I just kind of give it all up, the more miracles arrive. And the calmer I feel, everything gets resolved anyways.
It does.
It's not like, like the plane story. It's not like I'm doing anything anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
except making it harder.
Right. We're very good at making it harder. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it may not work out the way I envisioned it, but it always works out. So.
And often even better.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, my intuition has been very, very much alive since I was very young. And when I was 12 years old, I started reading all these books on intuition and, spirituality and astral projection and all kinds of things. And I'd walk around, junior high and high school reading these books, and it didn't help my social life any because everybody thought I was weird, and I was. But what happened is the more I understood about these unseen forces, the more I began to trust them. And then when I was about 17, I met this amazing woman who helped me to really fine-tune my intuition, and I got to see how my intuition speaks through me. And from that moment on, I have listened to it. But for most of my life, it was isolated. Like, I knew to listen to it in this situation or that situation, or when things got really bad, then I turned to it. What I didn't realize was that it's always speaking to me and always directing me. And now at this point in my life, literally every step I take, every move I make, every breath I take, I sound like Sting now, that I'm listening to my intuition, that it's guiding me. And sometimes it tells me to do some pretty odd and wacky things, and I say, oh no, really? Do I have to do that? But I do because I trust it. I know that me as in my mind, my personal self, can only know so much. I can only take in and process so much information based on my human capacity, my capabilities. But my higher self that speaks through my intuition, really, the higher self and the intuitive self are really one and the same in my definition. So when I listen to this higher self speaks through me, which knows everything, and when I say everything, it's attached to every bit of information that has ever existed or will ever exist in the entire universes of universes, and the whole God mind. It contains all that information. And so doesn't it make more sense to listen to something that contains all that information? So when it tells me, and sometimes I call them they because it feels like this huge group of beingness, so to speak, for me anyway, that when they tell me to do something, I know to do it. I trust it. I trust that somehow it's in my benefit, or whoever benefit they're asking me to do it for. And I'm used as a channel. Today on the plane, for example, I'm sitting next to this woman and start getting very clear messages for her. And now 20 years ago, it was very, very difficult for me all of a sudden to turn to a stranger and say, excuse me, I have a message for you. And hopefully I don't do it like that. Sometimes it happens like that. But I just let it come right through me. And, I share whatever information is coming through me, because I know if it's coming to me, that it's not just for me to hold on to, that I'm supposed to share it. And that goes for information that I give to other people, and also for, which direction to go and where to move. And, I look back just of my life over just the last couple of years, and I could see how my intuition told me to do one simple thing, and as a result of that, this thing happened, the other thing happened, the thing after that, and then it just became this huge thing. And an example of that is about 3 years ago, it was just about this time of year, a friend of mine invited me to go to an Anthony Robbins conference. And for those of you who don't know, Anthony Robbins is very famous and popular for NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And I had been doing NLP in my practice for many years, and basically what NLP is, it's almost like reprogramming the mind, but I see it as the body, mind, and spirit to work as one to go in the direction that you want. It's a very, very powerful technique and technology. Well, anyway, I had been doing NLP for many years, but I had never been professionally trained, and I had always wanted to, get professional training, but really, I only wanted to do that if I could study with, like, the originator of NLP, and I thought he was dead. So anyway, 3 years ago, a friend of mine invites me to, this Anthony Robbins, seminar, and I was really resistant, and I was on the fence about going. Do I want to go? Maybe I'll go. It's so mainstream. I don't know. I'm like that. And, my friend kept asking me, and then finally he calls me and says, you need to decide today. Today's the last day that we can get these tickets, okay? So I get off the phone with him, and I'm still like, I don't know whether I want to go. I'm like, you make like, I should go list, I shouldn't go list, So finally I just said, okay, universe, tell me, should I go or shouldn't I go? And I just let it go. By the time I was done with that thought, I heard my little email noise go off, and I went, forgot about what I was just asking the universe, and I went to my email and had just received an email for someone I had never received an email from. And it was, the email address of this person was NLP Today. I almost couldn't believe my eyes. And I stood there just staring at it. And I called my son, Dustin, what does this say here? He says, NLP Today. And it was very clear. Mm-hmm. I'm asking, should I go to this NLP conference or not? And not only did it say NLP, it said today. In other words, now you go.
Right.
And immediately I got back on the phone with my friend. Yep, I'm in, because there was no doubt. It came to me that quickly and that precisely. And really, at that point, it needed to be that precise, although information often is not that precise. As a result of that, I ended up signing up for a bunch of these seminars through Robbins, and they were wonderful. I highly recommend them. And met this person several months later at one of the seminars who told me that Richard Bandler, who is the originator of NLP, is in fact still alive, and he also told me how to get in touch with him. And within weeks, I was training with him. And at that first training, I met a friend who became a very good friend, who will always be a friend, lifelong friend. And through him, there was this snowball effect. And then I met somebody else, and this whole big thing happened, so that a group of people have come together to create this community. And it was all from that one little tiny thing. My intuition said to go to this conference, because one thing led to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, till finally here we are in the middle of this amazing purpose, amazing project that we get to do together. And that would not have transpired unless I listened to the sign. So you never know. It might seem like it's like a little thing, but one little thing adds up to another little thing and leads you to another little thing and leads you to the right person at the right time. And truly, I have come to the point where I absolutely believe that no matter where I am always in the right place at the right time and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I trust the universe. Mm-hmm. I trust life. Even when it seems like it's working against me, I know it's working on my behalf. I have no doubt.
And one thing, I can probably see that some people, they don't know really what their intuition is, because I was just thinking of that.
Right.
And they're the thoughts that you have every day, and it might be something that you kind of want to do.
Yeah.
Let's see. for example, maybe you want to go to a conference or something that just kind of pulls up, but then you're like, no, and if you're fighting against that, one thing is I would look at that and to see what's really behind it. I would see any of those experiences, maybe even just the little things that you're kind of resisting at. Those are the things I would really look at, because maybe that's your intuition talking to you.
So like you're thinking like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
That's when you really need to look at it.
Because you know it's not coming from your rational mind. So where's it coming from? Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that just happens every day with people. So I think anyone that's listening, anything that you kind of see a resistance, look at to see what that might be.
Right, absolutely.
And maybe it's something you're not even really resisting against. You're just having a little thought play going on.
Right. So what does that mean, a little thought play going on?
I guess just kind of doing that. Well, I don't know. It
like
might not. And it might not be something that you just like absolutely no, I won't do.
Right.
But you're just kind of doing the seesaw kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's like you want to do it, but there's lots of reasons maybe why it's difficult at that time, and people use excuses. So that's a really interesting point. Okay, so it's like, so they're like, they feel like they want to do something. And by the way, when you have a desire to do something, I'm going to put my money on the fact that it's your intuition talking to you, because intuition definitely speaks through our dreams and desires. That's kind of like a higher powered speaking to us, praying to us through our dreams and desires. And then we pray back, oh, please God, please universe, give me this, give me that. But we don't understand is if we have that dream and a desire, it's the universe, God, higher self, whatever you want to call it, talking to us, praying to us. So we have this desire, and then we use these excuses to stop us from doing it. And the excuses would be not enough time, not enough money, I've got too much to do, or this or that, or I'm not strong enough, and really that's just the mental mind holding us back, being afraid. And as soon as we choose it, as soon as we say, yes, I am going to do this, and you've chosen it, because when you have really chosen something, you don't stop until you get it. So if somebody, chooses, they think they choose something, and then they say, oh, I can't do that, I give up, then they really haven't chosen it.
Right.
You've chosen it because either it has been created in your life, or you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you will not give up until you attain it. That's when you've chosen it. And without choosing it, it can't happen. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Yeah. And when we use things like money and time and whatever as excuses, really what we're really saying is that I haven't chosen this thing. It would be like, okay, so your kid runs out in the middle of the street and is going to get hit with a car. Now, do you think, oh, I don't have enough time to go and run after them and pull them out of the street? No. You have chosen to save your child. You've chosen to save your life. Oh, my legs are too weak. I can't go save my child. My legs are you don't. You've chosen. In fact, it's choiceless. It's a done deal. And when you want something in your life, that's what's required. So it would be like if I held your head underwater right now. I'm not going to, don't worry. But if I did, how bad would you want to, breathe? And it takes that kind of energy. It's like you don't think, well, should I breathe? Well, I don't know, unless you're suicidal, which you're probably not. So it's there you are. You want to breathe, and you'll do anything to breathe. And it's the same thing. You don't give up until you have it, and then it's not giving up. No giving up is involved.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like. You have a dream or a desire, something that keeps like, oh, I should do this. I should take that lesson, or I should, go back to school, or, and not like I should because I'm a better I need to be a better person, or I need to do this. Not the logical one, but that feeling like that would be a cool thing to do. It would be like if I said to you, what would be like a really cool thing to do? Like, what's something that you really want to do? And everybody has that. Very often they don't think they do. I don't know what I want to do. But if they look deep enough, it's right there. They've just suppressed it. So the dream, the desire comes to the surface, and you get very clear with it. And you begin to see what that might look like, and you say yes to it. And when you say yes means I will continue on this path until I have attained exactly what it was that I set out to attain. Now, having said that, it could look different than you think. For an example, here's an example with me, okay? So when I was younger, from the time I was a very young child, maybe 4 years old, I had this dream to be an actress. Not just any actress, like a famous actress, you know? And the dream stayed with me. So when I was in high school, I was a theater major. In college, I was a theater major. I went to the Actors Institute in New York. I did, all these different plays, improv, a whole bunch of things, really thinking that I was going in the direction of acting. And at some point, that started to fade away. And I said, well, what happened to that dream? But really, what it was directing me to was public speaking and doing workshops and all that type of thing, keynote presentations. And as a kid, most kids, 4-year-olds, they're like, oh, yeah, I want to be a speaker and I want to help people. And, that doesn't usually happen. So the way that my higher power spoke to me was saying, oh, I want to be an actress, and that would be so cool. So I went on this path of, taking all these theater classes and doing all these things to help me create a stage presence and have confidence in talking to people. But it was never to act. It was to speak.
Wow.
So a lot of times that happens. And truly, when I figured that out, the desire to be on stage and act, was gone. That's like a fun thing to do, sure, but it was no longer the dream. I realized the dream was always standing up in front of people and helping them. Yeah. So you get the dream, you get desire, you say yes to it, and you keep going until you attain it. But in that, once you say yes to it, the other thing that you need to say yes to is really listening to that inner voice. If that inner voice says, go to this meeting, or go to that place for dinner, or go buy this, or, watch this on TV, or turn the radio on now, or, wear this. Those are things that direct you. Mm-hmm. And you might even not know why, because one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Right. But it's important to follow that. And a good way to do that is you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, okay, direct me on, where to go and what to do and what to say today. And then you listen, even if it seems crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing, I was thinking about when I did Katie's school, she had
Byron
Katie, if anyone knows, she's came up with the work and 4 questions, and I went to her school last year. And it was really incredible because each day was so different. And they kept everything so secretive. Like, you did not know what was going on. And some of the activities, I was just like, are you kidding me? Because they just seemed so far-fetched. Yeah. I mean, it was just letting everything go. You no longer had an identity or anything to you anymore. And after a while, you're just like, what the heck? I'm just going to do it and go for it. And right. I think that's just kind of the same thing. I just went with it, even how ridiculous I thought it was.
Right.
And I noticed it broke a lot of walls down for me. And I think that's the biggest part why I'm even here where I am today.
Yes.
Because I broke all those walls and, I don't have to be this way or this way or think that way.
Yeah.
And by the 6th day, people come up and ask me why I wasn't wearing my name tag. Yeah. Because everyone had a name tag. Yeah. I said, I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yes.
And that was just huge for me to be able to get to that place of just completely just taking my identity off.
Yeah. Luckily, it didn't last any longer because you would have been naked too. Yeah. And I think that's a good part of what's required. Releasing the identity and who we think we are, because it limits us. It limits us into this small container. Mm-hmm. And when we start to say, okay, maybe I am more than this, and what would that look like? And we stop attaching to who we think we are, what begins to move in is this realization of who we really are, which is these great, powerful beings. And then our higher self is no longer separate from us. It is us, and it lives in this vehicle that I call I, and you call you, and that's pretty amazing. Yeah. So something happened today. Do you want to share that story?
Yeah. It's actually yesterday.
Oh, not today. Yes, yesterday.
So I'm walking to the store, or I was walking.
Maybe you need to do a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been trying to get pregnant for probably about a year now, and I've been really frustrated, really frustrated and disappointed. And I've had a lot of false alarms where I'm thinking, okay, I'm pregnant, and then I'm not.
Yeah.
And I've gone to the doctor, I don't know, 4 times, had lots of blood tests and stuff like that. And so this last month, I just decided to completely just let it go. And when I say I let it go, it was gone. I had no idea even dates or anything.
And when you say let it go, you mean
having the baby go.
Like letting, like, am I pregnant? Or is it my ovulation time? Or was that, a nauseous feeling from being pregnant? Like that kind of stuff, you let that go? Okay.
Just all of it go.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about a baby. I knew it was going to happen when it was going to happen. And so I'm at the store the other day, and I'm just walking. I'm just trying to get bagels.
Yeah.
Just to get bagels. And I'm in a hurry because everyone wants food.
Yes.
And there's these signs, like baby signs, like comfort for your baby. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I walk a little bit, and diapers fall, like, right on my feet. And I'm like, okay. Now, it was just in the center aisle where there's, like, candy. There's no diapers anywhere, no baby section, anything. And I look over, and I just see lots of different, like, baby stuffed animals, blankets, just all these things leading to baby.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, I'm supposed to get a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing because there was just no way, once again, that I could really ignore it, because every few steps I was seeing another side until I got to the pregnancy test.
Yeah.
And ended up just getting one and coming home. And even as I'm taking the test, calm.
Yeah.
Not freaking out about, is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? I'm just completely calm. And I got a positive sign.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so there's so many elements in that story. One is that you let go. You're very clear about what you wanted, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna keep going until I have a baby. Like, that was really, really clear. You made the choice, and it wasn't like at some point you were going to say, well, it's been so long, I'm going to give up. No, you were going to keep going.
Right.
And then the next thing you did, which seems like it's the opposite, was you let go. Mm-hmm. And once you let go, something began to shift and happen inside you so that what you wanted could be materialized. And then the universe very graciously said, okay, it's time to get that pregnancy test. And it was clear. Yeah. That's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. It's true. There's signs all around us. And that's what I've come to believe, which I didn't understand until maybe a few months ago, and that is that wherever we are at every moment, whatever we see around us is a sign, in one way or another. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger, but it's always a sign. It's always pointing us in a certain direction. It's kind of like you have a dream at night, and you wake up in the morning and you start analyzing all the dreams. Oh, let's see, there was a bridge in my dream, and there was a flower pot in my dream, and my next door neighbor Bill was in my dream, and and you sit down, okay, what does that mean, and what does this mean? And people take the time to do this, and it's very powerful. Well, I believe the same is true for life. And that everything around us, especially the things that we keep noticing, or the things that keep showing up, like the baby, one baby thing after another, when they keep showing up, especially if they come in threes, then you know that the universe is pointing direction. A story that has extended over the past few weeks. I'm coming home from Zion's, trying to rush home for the show, and I get pulled over because I'm speeding to get home from the show, and the officer's name is Doug, and I thought that was really, really, really interesting, because usually, an officer, I'm Officer Hanson or Officer Smith, and, they don't give just their first names, and I ask him his name, and he says, Doug. And I thought that was weird. And then minutes later, I pull into a gas station, and here in Utah, all gas stations are self-service, and it was very, very interesting because this one was full service. And I asked the attendant's name who filled up my gas tank, and he said, Doug. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Within a few minutes, and interesting situations, it's interesting. And then I get back on the road, and about an hour later, this is a huge billboard, and the billboard says, looking for people named Doug. And I just went, dug, all within a specific period of time. So I knew that I was being directed in a certain way, but I didn't know what that was. So I just kind of held on to that and kept my eyes open for something that had to do with Doug, and I didn't know what. And a couple of days later, I ended up going to this community meeting, which my intuition told me to go to, even though I was tired, I wanted to go to sleep, had other things to do, all that. My intuition said, no, you go. And so I went, and when I got there, there was a gentleman that I had just barely known. I had known his wife, before she passed away a few months ago. And, as soon as I saw him, I said, oh, his name is Doug. And I immediately went and sat next to him, and we ended up having this amazing connection, and I was receiving messages from his wife. So I truly believe that she was trying to get my attention to help him by putting all these signs there. And truly, that's how it works. Yeah. Like I said, everything's a sign, but when you have things that are repetitive, that come in threes or more, that's something to pay attention to. Yeah. It's an amazing world we live in.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I read recently in a book, and I don't know if this is true or not. It might seem a little out there, but for those who listen to the show, we're a little out there anyway. And what it said in this book, it was a channeled book, so meaning like some higher beings channeled through some earthly being. And actually, I've read this more than once. I've read this in several books, that the earth was created as a vacation place. A vacation place. So meaning like beings from other planet would come here for vacation, kind of like, we go to, Mexico, or we go to Europe, or, we go to all these like special places as vacation because they're, this beautiful place. That's what the earth was created for. And it was considered to be the most beautiful and miraculous and amazing place in all the universe. And we get to call it home. How lucky are we? And even if that's not true, if we just wake up and we look around, there's so much beauty. So much beauty. No matter where you live, there's the sky, there's the sun, there's clouds, there's rain, there's snow, there's the smell of moist air. There's people, the most beautiful of all. If you want to see beauty, just look into someone's eyes. It's there. Sometimes you have to look a little deeper than other times. But I'll tell you that when you stop and look deeper, you get to see the real person. And that shifts something inside of them. A lot of times we go into a store or something, or, go into work, and, there's somebody there that's just, not in a good mood. And our instinct is to avoid them, get away from their negative energy. But really what's happening is they're screaming out for love and connection. And if we just take a moment to look a little deeper, to see who they really are beneath the fear, the anxiety, then what happens is something begins to shift inside of them, because they sense that we're looking past that, and then they get to look past that too. You can't look within someone without also directing them to look there too, even if no words are said. So yes, this is a beautiful place we live in. And I think the more we see beauty, the more we recognize beauty in others and in ourselves, the more beautiful and amazing it becomes. And in that way, it would be nearly impossible for our dreams and desires not to be manifested as well. Yeah. Any closing words today, April?
I just love it. I think it's fun. I think once you break down all the walls and see how you can have anything and everything that you've ever dreamed of.
Yes.
Once you really feel that, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting.
So exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, it's true. Your dreams, your desires, they're a higher power speaking to you right now. And you are the vessel to create them, to manifest them in your life. I would love to hear about what your dreams and desires are, and I invite you to visit my website at nanice.com, nanice@nanice.com, and just email me from the site, or my email address is nanice@nanice.com. And I want to hear about what it is that you want and what you dream to be possible. And if enough people write in, what we can do is we can create a manifestation board, and we can, list our manifestations on like a manifestation blog, and we can help each other manifest our dreams and desires by putting energy into each other's dreams and each other's desires. And, when two or more people come together, magic happens even faster and greater than ever before. And so tonight, I invite you to really start listening to that voice inside you. Really start listening to those visions inside you. Really start listening to the feelings your body is telling you and directing you. And once you start doing that, really doing that, where you realize that your body, your mind, your spirit are all tools to help point you in the direction of what you really want, then life turns around so quickly, so easily. And you truly can have everything you have ever dreamed possible. You have been listening to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Have a great week.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.